It's about 5 after 5 here in Tak, Thailand. And one of the big attractions in Tak is a pedestrian bridge that goes over the Ping River. People go down to the river to watch the sunset, grab some snacks or some drinks, and a lot of people walk across the river, I guess, to watch the sunset. And of course, I have the Relive app running right now. I started it when I was still inside my room at the hotel, and I set it to walking. It's interesting that they have all these different settings, but I'm not quite sure how they affect the recording, because you can choose hiking or walking, but I don't know if that changes anything in terms of the speed at which it records or anything like that. It could be just as simple as the title they put at the top, because even after you're done recording your activity and you are editing to create the record of your activity in the map, it gives you the opportunity to change the nature of the activity at the very end. So I could record all day long as if I'm, and I chose motorcycling, and then when I finally go to create the map, I could change it to walking right then and there. But I don't know if that changes how it produces the final map. So many mysteries. That's the way technology is, as I said the other day. You can read all the manuals you want, but the manuals don't do any troubleshooting for you. You have to do troubleshooting yourself. For example, I just discovered something today that I didn't know about the Pocket 2. And I found out that even though it does connect so far flawlessly with every microphone that I've plugged into it, you have to plug in the microphone when the camera is operational. I discovered that it doesn't work if you have the microphone already plugged in and then you turn the Pocket on. It doesn't register the microphone. It will just use the internal mics. So I was confused about that for a long time, but I finally figured out what was going on. And that's a little bit of a pain. I thought as you're going throughout your day, I thought I could plug in the Rode Wireless Go and just leave it there, never think about it again. And then every time I turned on the Pocket, it would just be recording from the Rode Wireless Go. But it doesn't work that way. So every time I turn on the Pocket 2, I have to unplug the Rode Wireless Go and then plug it back in again. And that's the only way to get it to register. So it's really interesting what a transformation towns undergo in Thailand. Because I was out here earlier this afternoon when the sun was high and it was really hot, and there was nothing going on. There was nobody here. There was no traffic. There were no market stalls. It just felt kind of deserted. But take a look at it now. Everything is slowly changing. You can see all these market stalls have opened up along the sidewalk. So I guess you can get snacks and drinks now. But none of this was available before that I remember. And then look at all this traffic. Turns out this road here, the one I just walked down, is kind of a shortcut route. So you got to keep an eye on anything coming out of that street. Traffic here is coming at you from all directions. Ooh. I don't know if I have the energy to go snacking tonight. I might have to save my snacking time for tomorrow. But that smells good. And this is an interesting complex right here. I wonder what this thing is all about. Boy, whatever it is, they don't want you going up there right now. Look at this. razor wire. Safety first. Yeah, safety, all right. You don't want to get tangled up in that razor wire. That's the first thing you want to think about. And maybe this is under construction. They're building it, tearing it down, renovating it. No idea. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this must be a new building. There's no way they're tearing that down. And there it is there. All those shiny pillars, and a lot of the metal is still covered by stickers, like sheets from the manufacturer, so that has to be a new construction. It's funny though, everywhere I go, I always have this feeling that I'm always feeling hesitant, because my experience is that everything is closed. And so I'm walking towards this bridge and I'm going quite slowly, because I'm just assuming that at some point someone's going to tell me, oh, no, you can't go across the bridge. Not today, or something like that. But it does look to be open, so I think we'll be okay. There's the river, the Ping River. And this looks like a large boat, a docking station. But again, it also looks largely abandoned. It doesn't look like it's seeing very much use. All right, let's head across this bridge, see what's going on. Good timing on my part. Look where the sun is. One thing about sunsets I've learned in my life is that you think you have enough time. I'm not a big sunset guy, to be honest. I don't go out looking for sunsets very often. This is kind of a special occasion. But when you look at that sun up there and you think it's going to take another hour for it to reach the horizon. But once the sun gets to that point, from this point on, it moves fast. It'll start going down, and then you blink and it's gone. It'll just be below the horizon before you can blink. Fair amount of water flowing along. Sawasdee krab. This is really nice. This is really nice. The bridge is sort of bouncing up and down gently. I like it when a bridge has a bit of flex in it. And there's a nice breeze because you're out in the open here. Nice breeze coming along the river. Feels markedly cooler than when I was inside the city on the streets. Take a look downriver. The motion of this gimbal on the DJI Pocket 2 is so slow and smooth. Sometimes I feel like it's never going to come all the way around and point straight ahead of me. It always seems to be off on an angle. But it eventually catches up and ends up at 90 degrees or 180 degrees, whatever you want to call it. But when you move, I'm panning to the left and the gimbal is staying a little bit to the right. And now that I've stopped moving, the gimbal just slowly catches up with my motion. It's not even there yet. It's still moving. It's moving so slowly I can hardly see it. I think in the settings, I can change it to slow or fast, and I think I have it set to slow pan or slow slow follow or whatever the vocabulary is that they use. Yeah, it's definitely slow. Let's take a look upriver. Nice. And again, I always have this tendency to aim the camera too high. I don't know why that is. This is where I want, kind of like right there. Rule of thirds and all that. But I noticed that when I swung the camera around, I think I originally had it something like that. And yet that feels natural in terms of pointing the camera, but I feel like I have to point it down in order to get the angle I want. I assume over time I'll just get used to how this thing works. Right now I'm constantly looking at the tiny screen on the Pocket 2 just to make sure that I have it angled the way I want. But I don't seem able to do it on instinct yet. I'm always seem to be pointing it in the slightly wrong direction. Oh, I keep forgetting I'm supposed to be taking pictures with my smartphone for my Relive app. I haven't taken a single picture, I don't think. So it's just, all you see is a blue dot moving around and no pictures are popping up. So I think I will stop here and take a picture. And with the power of my Jaws Flex clamp, I think I can put my Pocket 2 there and it will be safe. It has a special strap built into it where it can get a grip on cables and things like that. All right, where's Relive? There it is. And we've walked 0.7 kilometers. And my activity has taken 20 minutes so far. So let's take a picture of the river. It's not the most exciting picture, so maybe I'll do the selfie shot too. There we go. Visually a little bit more interesting, even if it has my mug on it. Yeah, the bridge is really bouncing up and down. I got some big people walking my way. Let's take a picture of my Pocket 2, precariously attached to the cable. I'm living dangerously. Continuing along the bridge. Took a bunch of pictures for the Relive app. The sun ahead of me. Yeah, and I see a string of lights all along the cables of this suspension bridge. So I guess once it becomes dark, maybe they flip a switch. And there's lights down on the base as well. Nice. I really like this. It's right in the middle of the city, right downtown. It's just so nice to be able to take just a few steps and you're out here in the middle of this, yeah, look at this all around me. On the middle of this amazing bridge. The river looking upstream there.
Hi.
Sawadee krap. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. And you?
Pretty good, pretty good. That young fellow ahead of me there on the bike. You can sense it when someone goes by and they want to have a chat with you. And I could sense that he wanted to say something, so I gave him a big smile underneath my mask, said "Sawadee krap," and he said hello in English, and then he started speaking to me in English. Just wanted to know if the video I'm shooting is going to end up on YouTube at some point, so he wanted to know the name of my channel. A lot of spider webs in between all the cables here. Don't see any spiders though. Just seems like this would be an ideal hangout for giant spiders wanting to snack on unwary Canadians. But I don't see any of them in their webs right now. There's the sun. I haven't even made it to the other side of the bridge, and you can see how far the sun has come down in the sky. And look at me with my DJI Pocket 2. I didn't even bring the GoPro with me. I left it back in the room. It did its job today on the scooter. Now it's time for the Pocket 2 to shine. Actually, all the batteries for the GoPro are busy charging anyway. I feel another Lazada shopping spree coming on. I thought 3 batteries for the Hero 9 would be enough to get me through a day, but so far that's not turning out to be true. I need a 4th battery, so that's going in my shopping cart. And today, one of my regular and favorite grips from Ram mount actually broke. The GoPro quick release buckle, part of it snapped off at the very beginning of the day, just as I was leaving the hotel in Sam Nhau. That was really disappointing. So I was trying to find a replacement base, just to buy the base that broke. And you can get them, Ram mount sells them separately, but here in Thailand I haven't been able to track one down yet. So I might have to just replace the whole unit. So that might be in my Lazada order soon. You'd think I have enough mounts and grips and that kind of thing to keep a small army equipped in GoPros, but I always seem to need another one. The river is quite wide, as you can see, but it's not that deep. You can just see a fisherman out there in the middle. He's wading across, checking on his various poles and nets. And yeah, the water hasn't even reached well, just about at his waist where he is. And now it's at his knees. So yeah, not very deep. I don't know if this bridge serves as a real transportation path. It doesn't seem like there's a great deal on this side of the river where people have to walk across, and I think it's purely meant for leisure, just to stroll across like I've done and then stroll back again. As I said, there isn't a whole lot in evidence as soon as you get to the other side. It's basically a big road and that's it. There's not, it's maybe a residential area. I don't know what that is over there. Government offices or school or a company or something, but. And here are all the cables keeping the bridge in place. Without those, the whole thing comes crashing down. There's that one scene, well, not that one scene, there's a million scenes in movies that drive me crazy. But there's an X-Men movie, which one? Days of Future Past, maybe? No, not. It was the one where Magneto rips the Golden Gate Bridge free and then flies it across the city and puts it down somewhere else, and it still functions as a bridge, even though the cables have been ripped out of the ground. You know, I'm no engineer, but I'm pretty sure that with a suspension bridge, once you rip the cables out of the ground, there's no structure left. The bridge is not going to hold its shape. You know, maybe Magneto was using his magnetic powers to keep it in its condition, but after he dropped it, he just left it across another part of the river to serve as a bridge and left it there. But without cables sunk into the ground, it's it's not going to be a bridge anymore. The whole thing is just going to collapse. But hey, if you're spending your life looking for logic in X-Men movies, you are going to be a frustrated man. I'm still devoting a lot of brain cells to trying to understand, not only understand the gimbal modes on this camera, but then try to understand the different situations where you would use those different modes. And I'm slowly getting a handle on it. Haha, I made a joke because the Pocket 2 has a handle, and a lot of the modes refer to the relationship between the gimbal and the handle. And that's a key concept I'm learning in terms of understanding this camera. But it seems like the most common gimbal mode is what they call follow mode. And that's what I have it in right now. And what that means, I think, is that the gimbal follows the handle in the tilt axis. So if I tilt the camera up and down like this, the lens tilts with it. It follows the handle. And that's what the follow mode is all about. As I move the handle, I tilt it up and down, the lens tilts with it. And it pans from side to side, so it follows the handle. If I pan from left to right, or right to left, I come back again, I'm turning the camera, and the lens turns with the handle. So it follows the motions of the handle, but only in the tilt and pan directions. So, but if I move the handle this way, then you can't even see what I'm doing, because I'm moving the handle, the base of it, so I'm tilting the whole thing left and right, but the gimbal is locked to the horizon. It's staying level. So it follows pan and it follows tilt, but it doesn't follow, what do you call this one? What's that axis called? Oh boy, now I've forgotten what it's called. But it doesn't follow that motion. It only follows two of them. But now let's change to the next one. The next one is called tilt locked. So what happens here? It's locked in place. So I'm tilting the handle dramatically up and down, but the lens is staying locked on the horizon. So that's tilt locked. And if I move it like this, it's locked in position as normal, but it still rotates. So tilt locked means that tilting has no effect. Its tilt axis is locked in position. Okay, I got that straight. And a question, of course, is when would you use that? I guess it's pretty useful. Like maybe it's more useful than follow, because I'm constantly, moving the camera around, but I want to keep me in the center of the frame. So maybe tilt locked is the way to go, because as my arm moves around, the camera is not moving. Interesting. Plus, if you wanted to do fancy shots along the ground, maybe that's the way to go. I'm not sure. Have to think about that. The next mode is called FPV, and for the longest time I had no idea what that meant. But I eventually found out that FPV means first person view. And that means the gimbal follows the handle everywhere it goes. So if I tilt it like this to point upwards, the camera changes. If I tilt it down, it follows the handle and rotation, of course. But if I put the camera on an angle, it also goes on an angle. So you can see now I'm actually on an angle. So it follows the handle in all the axes like that. So that's a first person view, or FPV mode. So I guess FPV mode is like the normal mode you'd find for any camera out there in the normal world, because if you do this with a regular camera, of course whatever you're filming tilts too, because they're not gimbals. So that's FPV mode. But in all this talk about modes, we can't forget I'm here to look at the sunrise, and there it is behind me. The sun went behind clouds, so you're not actually going to get the moment when the sun goes below the horizon. But there's the sunset over there. And maybe I should capture that for my Relive app as well, because I think the sun is going to disappear completely any minute now. We're getting the last of the day's sun over the river. Yeah, tilt locked, you know? I'm moving the camera all over the place, and yet the image on the screen is not moving at all. The gimbal is locked into position in the tilt axis. Very cool. Well, let's take a picture with Relive before it's too late. Nice. Actually, that was worked out quite nicely. Captured some nice light on that picture. A lot of the people crossing the bridge are all decked out in exercise clothes. You can sense that they're walking with purpose, because they're here to get a little bit of exercise and stretch out a little bit. And I think bicycles are a thing here more so than in other towns in this region. I think it's a very flat town, and that's probably the reason why. I noticed at my hotel, the Soho Boutique Hotel, they have a long line of bicycles, and apparently they're free for guests to use. They're rentals, but you don't actually have to pay to use them. You can just hop on one and go. Now maybe that's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing because you don't have to pay for it, but it could be that because it's free, they don't really maintain them that well. So I don't know if I'd go very far on the bicycles that I saw. You could take them down to the river and ride around a little bit, but I wouldn't go much further than that. But I've seen quite a few people walking their bicycles across the bridge. I'm kind of impressed with that too. Shows a kind of courtesy, because you know they were riding their bike on the road, and then they got to the bridge, and you'd think they would just ride across the bridge as well, but most of them hop off, and then they're walking their bikes along. Ready, crap. I find with the Pocket too, I'm holding it much closer to my face than I do the GoPro. And that's really a function of how small the screen is. I find I'm keep moving it closer just because I have to peer at that tiny screen to see what's going on. And then I end up not moving it away from my face again. But the perspective seems okay. It's quite a wide angle lens at 20 millimeters. So right here, I've got it much closer to my face than I would normally hold it. This would be more of my GoPro length right there. That's how I would normally hold the GoPro. But this is my Pocket 2 distance from the camera. And the power of the Pocket 2 extends to zoom as well. I've set the joystick or the control stick to zoom now, and I can zoom in on that platform. I was just looking at that platform because it looks like something that has just been torn to shreds by a typhoon. I don't think that really is used anymore. Zoom back out again. And it looks like this is some sort of a performance stage over there with the arches. So they probably have public performances there. But it looks like right now it's been taken over by skateboarders. At least I see one skateboarder doing his thing. Let's see if we can capture the last of the light. Here's a man on a bicycle. He didn't dismount. But I think that's okay, as long as you're not zooming along at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And he's slowing down to get by the selfie group there. Yeah, to use this Pocket 2 well, you really have to familiarize yourself with the controls, with the buttons. Otherwise, it's a hopeless task. So the centering button is extremely useful. Just a double press, and no matter where the gimbal has wandered off to, you can get it back under control and center it and sort of start all over again. I use it all the time now. 2 skateboarders over there. Yeah, more and more market stalls opening up. But to be honest, I don't think I have the energy to really enjoy a market experience tonight. I don't have the energy to go snacking, I don't think. I'll have to leave that, I think, for tomorrow. Today was just all about the bridge. I just wanted to walk down here and check it out. And there it is. I don't know the name of the bridge, but I guess that's not really important. And that's it, I think, for this bridge video here in TAC. Yeah, I'm really glad I came down here. It's really nice that the sun has gone down and there's a little bit of a breeze here. And shutting down now, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.